Hello, friends. Welcome in. It's Cut to the Chase Bengals Blitz. We're here in the city of Cincinnati. If you looked out the window, I could probably see Paycor Stadium and talk to Duke Tobin about, hey, Duke, who you drafting? What's going on, man? Like, give me the card for 18. That's enough of the jokes there. Hey, I'm your host, Chase Younts. Appreciate you guys coming in here. If you like this video, if you support us, thank you. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. There's so many places to get podcasts and listen to these videos and audio and everything else. We really appreciate the support that has been going on with us over the last couple of years, and we're going to keep this thing going. And we are churning out a lot of content. Speaking of the draft and my beloved Cincinnati Bengals. Again, I'm Chase Younts. Behind the scenes today, Jake Cure helping out, man. I appreciate the help. He is taking thanks really well back there. You can't see him on camera, but yes, we love the Bengals. We're going to keep talking about the Bengals, and we're not going to waste any time to talk about one of our favorite Bengals, Ja'Marr Chase. So Ja'Marr, he ended up getting his fifth-year option exercised by the club. This comes very recently after Amon-Ra St. Brown, who again can name like the 10, 11 different receivers that were drafted ahead of him. And Ja'Marr Chase was the first receiver selected off the board in 2021 to be one of those names. But Amon-Ra St. Brown had a contract extension. He was 4 years, $120 million with $77 million guaranteed, $30 million if you want to do the basic math and division on that. So that makes Amon-Ra the highest paid receiver in the National Football League, right up there with Tyreek Hill's making right around $30 million or so as well. So that means that Ja'Marr Chase has a little bit of extra time before he has to end up getting paid. He's got this entire season, 2024, which will be his fourth year in the league. The fifth year comes into play in 2025, which means 2026 would be looking at the year where he gets this contract extension. And a lot of stuff can happen in that time frame. The Bengals making this move obviously shows, all right, Ja'Marr Chase is the guy that we're going to keep over the long run. People thought before, oh, maybe it's T. Higgins and all that stuff. What are they going to do with T and everything? Well, we'll discuss T's situation another time because there's a lot of other stuff that the Bengals have to worry about at this moment. If he shows up on the field this year, that's great. We're going to love and welcome T in there, but the focus right here is Ja'Marr Chase, and he has been a bad son of a gun over his course of his Bengals career, and he deserves this fifth-year option. Looking at the money that we could be projecting to pay him, Amon-Ra getting 30 and Justin Jefferson not getting paid yet. Jefferson and Chase obviously being running mates at LSU. Chase is looking 33, 34 million a year. That's probably the look that they're going to have to give him in a couple of years. And the scary thing about it is just how money continues to grow. When the salary cap grows, these players get paid more. And we obviously saw that Joe Burrow is the highest paid quarterback in the National Football League in NFL history, making around $55 million a year. So we obviously have his contract on the books. It hasn't officially, I'm not saying officially, but it hasn't really hit hard yet. So getting guys like him and Chase signed down is crazy. And one other thing that I want to mention on this topic of receivers is how in the world is Devonta Smith getting paid $25 million a year from the Eagles, and they're also paying $25 million a year to A.J. Brown, and they're paying $50 million a year to Jalen Hurts? Again, if someone figures out and someone has that question answered and they can drop some knowledge, put it in the comments so I can go back and read this at night when it's like 12:30 and I'm just trying to figure out how the Bengals are going to be able to pencil in T. Higgins, Ja'Marr Chase, and Joe Burrow for the long run. If you guys can do that, I would really appreciate that. But on Ja'Marr Chase's thing, it's probably going to be around 33 or 34. The receiver market continues to grow. There's a lot of great receivers out there. But there's levels to it because you have the tier 1 and the tier 2 difference isn't necessarily great. It's not a great difference or anything like that, but it's noticeable. It's your Jeffersons, it's Chase, it's Devontae Adams, it's Tyreek Hill. Those, and then probably miss a couple guys as well. those guys are the ones, all right, they gotta get those contracts. Apparently Amon St. Brown is as well. But money talks. And when you back it up, when you do what Jamar Chase does, going 1,400 yards his rookie season and winning offensive rookie of the year and going to a Super Bowl and being a big catalyst for the Bengals in 2021 and then 2022, coming off a torn labrum in his hip and still going for 1,100 yards. And not to mention him having like 400 yards on a torn labrum in his hip when he was playing injured. And then this past year, with a lot of stuff that was going on in the receiver room and with Joe Burrow and a bunch of different quarterback shuffle, Jamar Chase was still able to produce and find a big way. So it's no doubt that Jamar is one of the premier wideouts and premier players in the National Football League. And I'm excited to see what he gets paid over the course. And this contract's going to be very fun for him and a lot of people in Cincinnati. Now, another guy that was throwing on the football besides Joe Burrow, Jake Browning. Jake Browning signed a 2-year deal with the Cincinnati Bengals. He'll be with the Bengals through at least the 2025 season. That's going to be really exciting. The thing was, we had no idea what we were getting when Jake Browning walked onto that field in Thursday Night Football. I believe it was November 16th of 2023 after Joe Burrow got hurt. No clue what was going to happen. Everybody, I remember I was sitting in this exact spot with my good friend Justin Lacey. We were watching the game here. That was a dreadful performance, to say the least. But we're sitting here watching this thing like, oh, we're dead. We're done. We're cooked. Everything out the window. But when Jake Browning walked in on the field and he showed a bit more poise than was expected. Like, okay, maybe this is a fluke. I don't know. Like, we'll see. And then the Steelers game, he had his ups and downs. It was really vanilla, but he had a really bad turnover in the third quarter, which really took the game, and it went south from there. And it's like, okay, the Bengals are probably going to tank. We're going to have to worry about getting a top 6 or 7 overall pick and take Brock Bowers and all that, which, again, that's a pipe dream. I wouldn't mind that at all. But again, that ship has sailed because Jake Browning had a Linsanity run. He had a Linsanity run, but it ended up turning to, he turned up being all right. And he had that Jaguars game where he was just absolutely balling on Monday Night Football in those beautiful all-white Bengal helmets and jerseys and all that stuff. They went out there and balled out, but it was him balling against the Jags and the Colts, and he found magic against the Minnesota Vikings. His magic ran out against the Steelers, and he had some magic left against the Chiefs, but some other factors couldn't play into it to help him out as we got down to the stretch. But we figured out one thing, that we found a backup who is cheap and he can play in this system if Joe Burrow happens to go down. God forbid I knock on wood that he gets injured. But man, I mean, the Bengals, this is one of the better quarterback situations that we've had in quite a long time, to say the least. And with Jake Browning, very excited that he is back for a couple years in the black and orange. So welcome back, Jake Browning, Jake Shiesty, whatever the heck you want to call him, Jake Shiesty, Feisty, JB6, all the different names. Yeah, welcome back, man. Welcome back. Now, third thing on this list, with the draft coming up tomorrow, we've got a couple of prospects to watch out for coming up on Thursday, and it's really centric around the trenches. I think that's been a very big point of emphasis for the Cincinnati Bengals. The big thing is this: you win and lose games at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the football. The Bengals have tried to retool their offensive line over the last couple of years. If you would have said that the start of this process, Joe Burrow goes from tearing his ACL to going to a Super Bowl with arguably a worse offensive line the year before, and then we keep building up. Okay, now we get Karras and Kappa and Volson and Lyle Collins. And our offensive line wasn't good to start that 2022 season off, but then they made strides and then more guys got hurt. That's unfortunate. You still make an AFC title game. Then this year, you have Orlando Brown walk in there. The same offensive line is around, and then Jonah Williams moves from left tackle to right tackle, and thank the Lord that Jonah Williams is gone. That's all I will say. If I had a mic for Jake back there, oh God, I won't even get into that. Now, looking at this situation, Trent Brown walks in at the offensive tackle position, and he's going to anchor down the right side. So the emphasis on the offensive line is there. Stuff just has to be able to click. There's got to be a bit of luck that goes into it when it comes to the injury factor. It's got to be the next man up mentality, and it's got to be playing cohesive as one unit. And that's something that Cincinnati has somewhat lacked over the last couple of years. We need great offensive line play for this great quarterback that we have in Joe Burrow. And an offensive prospect to watch for the Bengals, a couple of them at the offensive tackle position. This is probably looking for, the next year after Trent Brown is done with this one-year deal. Amarius Mims from Georgia is, that's a big one. I mean, he's 6'8", 340 pounds. He literally is a carbon copy of, Brown County at left and right tackle. So looking at Amarius Mims, if he is there, that would be huge. And then another guy on the offensive line, Talise Fuaga from Oregon State. Fuaga, he might end up getting picked earlier when, or in the earlier teens in this draft. His stock has really gone up. But if Fuaga's there at 18, the Bengals will definitely have their eyes on him and maybe put the card in for Mr. Fuaga. Defensively, so the Bengals rushed the passer pretty well. They did it a lot better this year, and Trey Hendrickson was like a one-man wrecking crew. And Sam Hubbard had times where he was well, and BJ Hill got to the quarterback a little bit here and there. And we obviously drafted Myles Murphy last year and had 3 sacks in 17 games. So he'll have a bit of a bigger role this upcoming year, and other guys filled in at spots. But the interior defensive line is the big thing to watch. Now, DJ Reader goes up to Detroit. That's a big get for them. Hopefully DJ can get healthy and help out the Lions up there. But then we replace DJ with Sheldon Rankins. And Sheldon Rankins had 3 sacks against the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 10 when it all fell down. No Kanye on that, but it all fell down for the Cincinnati Bengals that week. And a big reference with Sheldon Rankins, man. I mean, this dude's getting up there in age, but he is able to fill gaps and play very violently and aggressive. And hopefully that just, gets a whole burning pulse through this Cincinnati front four. And then BJ Hill, obviously, he's in the final year of his contract of his 3-year deal that he signed in 2022. So we're obviously going to have to look for the future in that regard. And BJ Hill has done his job very well. And, he's looking to have a very good 2024 season. But if we're looking at 2 guys on the defensive line that the Bengals could be looking at, Jerzon Newton, Johnny Newton, Illinois. This dude was the reigning Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. He imposes his will on the offensive line. And again, he might be the scariest defensive lineman in this draft. If he's there at 18, I will sprint the card over to Paycor Stadium. It's like a 25-minute, 30-minute walk from UC. I'll make it there in 5. But again, if this other guy, Byron Murphy II, is there, I will make it there in 6 minutes. Byron Murphy, man, that's another one. He is one of those big boys in the middle that can just stuff the run, and you don't even have to worry about it. Look at it. The Bengals, they couldn't stop the run to save their lives. And you're playing against teams like the Browns, who will have Nick Chubb back this year. The Ravens just got Derrick Henry, of all people, and now Lamar Jackson is healthy. So that's going to be an intriguing sight to see. And then the Steelers with Najee Harris, and they've done a lot of stuff with their offense overall. That's one thing. I know we talk about the Steelers. They're people say, oh, the Steelers are mid overall, and so they are, but they've done a lot over the course of this offseason. And if all goes right for them, they're going to be a pretty good team. But all these teams love to run the football, set up the play action pass, and then they love to rush the passer. If we have opportunities and options to stop the run and make them throw the football and get after them with a guy like Trey Hendrickson, it's going to make life very rough for Lamar Jackson to drop back 30 or 40 times if we're able to force him to do that. To make Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, go back 40 times. To make Deshaun Watson, I don't want to make any jokes about him because the jokes write themselves, but Deshaun Watson drop back 40 or 50 times, and you have to worry about Trey Hendrickson come because guess what? You can't run the football. If you stop the run, that just makes the game that much easier. And it all starts with the line of scrimmage, and that has to be the point of emphasis for the Cincinnati Bengals in this draft. I'm going to react to a mock draft in a minute. We're going to take a break here, and we'll be right back in 30 seconds. Hey, thanks for coming back. This is, Cut the Chase Bengals Blitz. We're gonna react to a mock draft. All right. I was gonna make a mock draft of my own, but finals week. My brain's fried. I'm gonna be a senior in college. The University of Cincinnati. UC. That was really, really painful to listen to. But again, my brain is fried. I don't have the capacity to make a 7-round mock draft, but a guy at ESPN named Jordan Reed, that's his job. So he made the 2024 mock draft. He did a whole 7-round thing on every single team, going through all 250 whatever picks there are. So great job for him right there. And I'm going to look at a couple of these picks for the Cincinnati Bengals in the top 100 picks. So we're looking at what the Bengals do at pick 18. Jordan Reed has them taking Byron Murphy II. Now, if Byron Murphy II comes to Cincinnati, that will piece the defensive line looking at Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard on the edges. And then you also have Miles Murphy in a rotation, Joseph Osai, Cam Sample, very nice pass rush unit there for us. And then interior, you have Sheldon Rankins, BJ Hill, the rookie Byron Murphy II, and then you got Zach Carter. You got a couple other guys in there that can rotate and do really good things. So if you're able to add a stud like Byron Murphy, this will be the project that probably takes over for BJ Hill if he walks away after the 2024 season. So you got a big boy in there. You got Sheldon Rankins who can move to that defensive tackle role. Byron Murphy's, kind of takes over for DJ Reader more truly. I think Rankins and BJ Hill are more of, they're more similar than I would say Rankins is filling in for DJ Reader. You need the fat boys, man. The fat boys got to take over inside, and they got to be able to stop the run, and they got to make those centers just, have issues and everything else. The centers and guards, those interior offensive linemen. So if we're able to get Byron Murphy at 18, I would absolutely love to see that. So hopefully we speak that into fruition tomorrow. Now, down at number 49 in the second round, Reed had the Bengals picking Washington wideout Jalen Polk. He's the second guy on that unit. Rome Odunze was obviously a great receiver for the Washington Huskies this year, the unit that got to the national championship led by Michael Penix Jr. And again, I love Michael Penix Jr. I love watching him throw that left-handed deep ball spiral down the field to all these receivers. That Washington team was really fun to watch. Now, Jalen Polk, here is what Jordan Reed had to say, quote, T. Higgins might be heading into his final season in Cincinnati. If he doesn't get traded first and the depth chart isn't very strong otherwise behind Jamar Chase, Polk finished last season with 1,159 yards and 9 touchdowns. So to update, T. Higgins said that he intends to play the Cincinnati Bengals this year. So you would have Jamar Chase, you'd have T. Higgins, and you'd have Jalen Polk. Now, we're looking at this. It's a pretty deadly group again. We got Younger at receiver. We don't have to worry about paying Polk for another 4 years. He's not going to have the exercise 5th-year option because T didn't have the exercise 5th-year option because he was technically a second-round pick. That only happens for first-round picks like Jamar Chase. We talked about that earlier in the show. But with Polk, a guy that can stretch the field, he can get vertical, pretty good hands overall, and just a really nice asset in that receiver room. And I saw that there have been some people that, they've had some picks of Roman Wilson goes there at 49. Xavier Worthy, his stock moves up a bit because of his 40 time, and I don't want a John Ross situation again. But, if Polk is there at 49, I wouldn't mind taking him. I think if they went defensive tackle in the first round, maybe they go offensive line here. But again, if a very good receiver is there at 49, then I wouldn't mind them taking it and trying to make a strength even more stronger because, again, T. Higgins' future is in question after this year. Honestly, it's in question every single day. But T. Higgins, if he's able to be on the field, the Bengals feel that, their best chance to win is with T. Higgins on the team. And they're going to continue to go with that. And if they're able to get some young talent in there, I think that would be really cool to see. Now, in round 3, pick 80, Reed had the Bengals selecting another offensive weapon. Kansas State tight end Ben Sinnott. Now, I didn't get a chance to watch a whole lot of Kansas State this year. I know Cincinnati's in a Big 12 school, and those two teams play each other actually later on in the 2024 football season. So keep an eye on that one. But Ben Sinnott's not going to be there. He'll be in the league. Maybe he'll be on the Bengals. This team, I don't know if they're going to draft a tight end, though, in the 3rd round because we already re-signed Tanner Hudson. We went on ahead and re-signed Drew Sample, and then we went out in free agency and got a 1-year deal with Mike Gesicki. That tight end room honestly might be filled out already. But, Mitchell Wilcox, former Bengals tight end, he did sign with the New England Patriots yesterday, I think on Tuesday. So there's been some shuffle in that tight end room, but I think they do want to find that 4th guy to kind of round this tight end room out so they have some depth. And I don't know if they're going to spend a 3rd round pick on a guy like Sinnott, but we'll see how that plays out. I think they would look later on in the draft, maybe an Eric All from Iowa. But if they don't do that, or they pick up an undrafted guy after the draft process is done. In round 4, actually not round 4, pick 4, round 3, pick 97, has us selecting Texas offensive tackle Christian Jones. So we double dip in the state of Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas because both of these guys are some big boys that we would be selecting if that's the case. So the excerpt from Mr. Jordan Reed: Jones is the ideal type of right tackle to develop behind Trent Brown. He has strength and heavy hands. He has 48 starts of experience and allowed only 1 sack last season. So again, if we're able to get Frank Pollock to develop this guy, and obviously people have questions here and there about development and everything else. But if we're able to get a guy in the 3rd round, an offensive tackle, even in the 2nd round, and have him sit for a year, develop, maybe play guard if needed, is going to be a big thing. The versatility factor, because the offensive line depth is slowly but surely getting there. Jackson Carman's still on the roster. We re-signed Cody Ford. If we're able to go out and get an offensive lineman within the first 100 picks, that'll really strengthen this unit up with our starting 5 of offensive line, and having those 3 reserves being able to mix and match and play many different positions. So I would not mind the Christian Jones pick at all. Now, I will say we're coming toward the end, but if I were in the Cincinnati Bengals war room tomorrow, that's a scary thought. If I was in the Cincinnati Bengals war room tomorrow, who would I select? Well, they're going to go best player available. That's going to be the big thing. And pretty much it's going to be, in my opinion, I think it's going to be either Johnny Newton or Byron Murphy the second if they're still there. I would like it to be that. If Waga's there, entertain the idea. That's fine. If you guys, they want to go on ahead and go on this, more toward the future aspect. But I would much rather get a guy that we can play right now defensively and can really impact the game. And Newton or Murphy are two of those guys that can really do that. And I know there's been some rumors per Dan Graziano talking about the Bengals moving up or trying to trade up into the draft. Again, I don't know exactly who they would be trying to get in that situation. It's going to have to be a big-time guy, maybe a pass catcher. Maybe that involves trading a pass catcher to get a pass catcher. I'm not too sure. I'll leave you on this, though. If you guys have watched this far to the end, like, subscribe, thank you. But if you're the Bengals, who are you drafting? What moves are you making if you're sitting in that room in Paycor Stadium calling the shots and everything? What are you tapping on Zach Taylor's shoulder? What are you saying to him? You asking him what's for dinner? Skyline Chili? You asking him what's going on at Pick 18? What's going on?